Hello and welcome to Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast. Yet another episode. I'm Stephanie Ricca, as always here with STR's Isaac Collazo and co-star John Freitag. Hi, guys.
Hey, Steph.
Hey, Steph. Happy Easter. Happy Passover belated. Hope you had a good little bit of a break, maybe.
Oh, it's nice to hear the word happy because so much has happened since last we recorded. A lot of it maybe not so happy. Just to remind listeners, last we recorded was a month ago from the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference in Atlanta. Since then, we have had the great tariff scare, big drop in Canadian travel numbers to the U.S. Tariffs now are on hold, but also so are a lot of Americans' vacation plans, possibly, it seems, as they grapple with rising costs. Airlines are reporting first quarter performance this week, not giving guidance for the rest of the year. I don't know how happy things are. Seems like we're in pretty tumultuous times, guys. Are you going to change my mind on that?
Can we not use the word uncertainty? Everybody says uncertainty. We're like, all right, do we have to call it uncertainty?
Let's ban it. Let's ban the word uncertainty from this particular episode of the podcast. Let's just try and see if we can do it. All right. You guys ready for that challenge?
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay. If you say it, I might have to play a sad trombone noise or ring a bell or honk a horn. I should have been ready, but we're going to give ourselves that challenge. And I think it's a good one. You in?
Or is it a drinking game? Every time we say it, our audience members have to take a shot.
Oh, maybe that's it. It can be a shot of coffee, whatever you prefer.
Right, exactly.
And they can't see us, so All right, well, listening audience, do whatever you choose to do. If we say the word I won't say it.
Nice.
You know, the U word. All right, that's our challenge for the episode. So we're going to see if Isaac can hold strong for his first segment, which is, as usual, data time. Isaac will cruise us through March Hotel performance highlights without using the U word. Isaac, take it away.
You know, every time I think I'm going to stop drinking, something else comes up. Not that I drink too much, and I let my audience know we're not, no issues here. We're okay. There's no intervention.
I only see coffee cups.
Exactly right. Just water at this point. Actually, I already finished my coffee. Hey, let's talk about March. What about March in the U.S.? Yeah, it was a little lower than we expected. RevPAR came in at 0.8. Demand was up, but we expected demand to be up. It just wasn't up as much. And that's because a year ago, March had Easter. But I think there's a lot of things going on in March. As you start unpacking March and just looking at it, just remember that it's the Easter movement actually impacted spring break travel. If you were to look at the spring break calendar of students on vacation for spring break, you would notice this year versus last year that's very elongated. In fact, last week, the week ending the 19th, 26% of all students were on vacation because that was the week ahead of Easter, right? And so it really changed travel patterns. So it's not necessarily that March was so weak because of the environment. It's really that people's travel patterns changed. And I think that's a big point that gets missed. And because March should have been good because Easter is in April. Well, yeah, but there's other impacts. And then looking at the quarter itself came in at 2.2% in terms of RevPAR growth. And also that's pretty good. Remember, a year ago, the quarter was down 0.2. So this was a decent quarter. A lot of the growth did come in the first 2 months of the year, January and February. So yes, if you look at March versus January and February, you go, oh my God, there's a real slowdown. But again, you've got to unpack that. So not only did you have the hurricane impacts, which is a real thing, people forget, we're still seeing solid demand from those 13 markets that were impacted by Milton and Helene. So that's one impact. Oh, there was an inauguration in January that really sent DC up in the stratosphere. And then the bigger thing in February was the movement of the Super Bowl from Las Vegas to New Orleans. And I'll remind our listeners that New Orleans actually had a higher RevPAR gain than Las Vegas. But Las Vegas is the largest market in the country. And what we saw there is that Unlike New Orleans filled up mostly with people going to the game. It's a smaller market, so most of the rooms were sold. In fact, occupancy actually didn't get 100%, but it was really close. Las Vegas not only had the people coming in for the games, but they accommodated everyone who wanted to be the festivities, and also people who wanted to gamble on the game and things of that. So just a different dynamic, completely different. And because of that, Las Vegas really saw a big hit and really hit the U.S. numbers. So just keep that in mind. Don't forget that it actually really matters. I think other key points, again, we talked about the calendar. We also had in January the LA fires that added some RevPAR growth to the industry that was unexpected. And then there are other little movement things that happened and other little special events. So if you take out the hurricanes, you take out the LA fires, you take out Las Vegas and the Super Bowl markets, you get to what I like to call the core markets. Like we talked about this in February, and RevPAR there for the quarter was a little less than the U.S. overall, it was 2%. And I think that's really good. I think that's the piece we're forgetting, that there's some still real growth, and a lot of that growth is coming from the Northeast and Midwest, where in the Northeast, the remaining top 25 markets grew at over 5%. So again, there's still really good growth, and we're seeing it in weekdays. So I don't think it's all gloom and doom at this point. Could it happen? Of course. But right now, I'm really on the fence about the what's going to happen in the future, because I don't think anyone really knows, and a lot of the forecasts coming out are based on assumptions that something's actually going to stick on the wall in terms of tariffs and layoffs and that sort, and it's just not yet. It changes every day. So I would caution everyone to say, just look at the data, watch the data. It's still not terrible. It's just meandering along. And then just one other thing, thinking about the what do you call it, the chain scales. We've been talking about bifurcated, right, for some time, for more than a year, that the industry's bifurcated. If you look at the total U.S., it doesn't look as bifurcated. Still, luxury is way up and upper upscales, but it kind of is in the middle, is kind of just meandering. But if you truly look, if you take out all the special events, it's very bifurcated. You're still seeing a very bifurcated industry where it's all the upper end. So obviously, we're still seeing good growth in conferences, still seeing meetings going forward, and luxury is just still killing it. Just very strong RevPAR growth. So in that core market, luxury was up 7.6% in RevPAR for the quarter. So very strong RevPAR growth. And again, if you put back Las Vegas into it, then it was only up 5%, but still really good, still 5%. I just say just 5%. So
that concept of core markets you brought up last time we recorded when looking at the February data. So it's really interesting to see those trends. And I remember you mentioning Midwest at that time, and midweek, seeing those continue in another month.
Yeah, it's still, I think, again, I thought it was a decent quarter. I mean, there's a lot of concern, and, there are some scary headlines from time to time, but right now, again, it's still looking pretty decent. And then I know Jan and I are going to have a discussion about this in a little bit. But yeah, I think it was a decent quarter, decent in the month. I'm not as worried about the month coming in at 0.8 as others are. I think there's real reasons for it other than economic reasons. I just think travel patterns have changed a little bit because of the Easter movement. And then just to round this out, not to be dead horse, let's look at the international side. RevPAR internationally was up 5.8% for the quarter, so very solid growth. And you saw, growth in, like, the UK was down 1%. Again, we are seeing some changes there, but other places were just, strong growth. Like Mexico is up 22%. Still trying to understand. I've talked to former Mexican colleagues, and they say, no, it's real. They keep saying it's not exchange rate, it's not inflation, that it is truly some of the higher end hotels that are driving that. So if anyone has any more insights, because I keep asking, making sure that we're not missing something, that it's something glaring, but it looks like it's still very much, it's rate driven. And so very strong growth there. Obviously Japan, which has been a big driver, it continues to be the driver with very high 16% RevPAR growth in the quarter. What else? China was down as well. China and the UK were the only two big countries that I've been tracking where they were down in RevPAR. China was down 4% this quarter. And I think that's really the highlights. I mean, again, just the, I don't know if you want to call it, some, you want to use the word solid, but no one wants to hear that. It was kind of a solid quarter. But it just, could things change? Yes, but it looks okay. I'm not scared at this point.
Hey, I'm glad you said that, Isaac, because, I specialize in the scary headlines. I think I say I have to do that because that's my job. And that's why I love coming on here to talk to you guys, to get the data to support or discount or throw a wrench in the plans from what we hear. Because, again, that data element really can tell sometimes the
Right.
story. A lot of times that words can't tell. Jan, how do you feel about the quarter?
I feel oh, wait, never mind. Can't say that. So the quarterly performance, I think, was pretty healthy, driven by that January, February results. But I mean, as Isaac said, there is a distinct step down in growth numbers, right? So January was much stronger than February, was much stronger than March. And in April, we have the Easter shift. So month to date, we're recording this. The latest data just came out for last Saturday. I think the 19th is negative, obviously with Easter in it, right? So that chart just doesn't look very confidence-inducing. I absolutely get where Isaac's coming from. We're going to have a debate here in a minute after I do my section, but I think there's a lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack.
And just to kind of underscore, so I already have a forecast. You know that. That's what I do. I'm always already looking at it. So, I think April will be negative, but that's to be expected because of Easter, right? So, and I think the 2 months combined will be flat to 2024, flat to down, slightly down. That's what I'm forecasting right now. But what I'm seeing in some of the forward booking stuff, it actually could be better than my forecast is at the moment. And so, but we'll see. We have to wait and see.
So wait and see is your way of getting around the U word. Okay,
and
that's fine.
And I think it's just messy data right now. And we're all being influenced by what we're seeing in the headlines. And so I don't know about you. Oh, you're in the media. That's right. You probably do read the headlines. I'm not reading as much as I used to from the major press, not Hotel News Now. Love Hotel News Now. Always reading Hotel News Now. But the rest of the stuff, it's just like, I'm just tired of it. I can't read anymore of just everything negative. So.
Well, and it is something that we talk about in our newsroom, which I think is valuable to bring up because of the U word being everywhere. And I'll say to my team, and we talk about it, we'll say, well, okay, yes, you can use that word. Sure, people will use it a lot, almost like a crutch or a placeholder. But surely there are factors playing in. What is making you feel that way? What is making you change? How is it making you change your forecasting, your budgeting, how you're doing the business? That's the story, not just saying, oh, we are U word, but what is it causing? What is it making you do? How is it making you change your thinking? And then we see how does that come out in the data. So that's how we've been skirting the U word. All right, Jan, you are up first for topic of the month. And I am always excited to hear what sort of data science you are going to drop on us to make us all think, what? We never thought about that before. Or how on earth did he put A with B and it came out into C? Wow us.
Well, you already answered that question because you talked about the airline earnings. United and Delta came out with their first quarter results. And I just went through the transcript, and there are a couple of nuggets or sentences. So it's not a lot of science. I'm just literally reading quotes here that really, I think, give us a sense of how those two airlines feel right now. And I think there's a clear read-through between how the airlines are doing as they're getting our hotel guests from A to B and how we eventually will be doing. So the three main topics I just briefly want to touch on is domestic demand, international demand, and the premium cabin, the front of the bus, if you
Oh,
will.
yes.
So let's start with domestic business. So again, I'm just reading off a couple of quotes just to sort of frame the conversation of how the airlines feel. So this is United, and they're saying clearly the bulk of the issue we're seeing today is demand for domestic flights, particularly in the main cabin. That's where the challenge will be in Q2, just as it was in Q1.
Wait, to sell them or because there's too much demand? Sorry.
No, challenge.
Okay.
So
I
they
heard
are
challenge and
are
thought,
worried about domestic demand
okay,
in Q2.
dropping off.
And Delta says consumers remain cautious. Corporate travel trends are choppy, with overall corporate volumes currently expected to be flat-ish. Cabin demand softness, both domestic and international, is persisting. And then they go keep talking about other things, but they're saying challenged mostly in the main cabin lower end. So the airlines are maybe sounding the alarm bells a little bit about the main part of the bus, right? The regular American leisure traveler or the regular corporate transient traveler, that demand is not falling off, but they're saying it's challenged, right? It's choppy. It's they're wondering about Q2. So that's one line of argument. The other line of argument is international. And I don't know if you remember, but OAG put out this number that sort of freaked everybody out, that they're saying, oh, 70% of Canadian travel is dropping off. And so United, specifically to counter that statement, said, okay, here is what we're seeing. And yes, it's down a little bit. International passenger originating in Europe are currently booked 6% lower than 24. Canadian origin passenger volume slightly worse, down 9% year over year. But, so those are related specifically to that OAG press release. But the CEO say, I do expect international revenues to be positive. We remain bullish on the international environment. And Delta basically saying the same thing. Bookings remain strong for the peak summer period. This is international, US outbound. But so that's pretty positive conversations about international in and outbound outside of Canada.
And that they're raising their prices for it. They're maintaining pricing power.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then lastly, this is not a surprise based on what Isaac just said, the premium cabins, right? That's really the success story, has been and will be. United saying, so far, no deterioration in high-end consumers' willingness to purchase a premium experience. High-end consumers, the more wealthy consumers, they want to sit in premium seats and they seem to be less impacted so far. And then Delta is saying, have not seen any cracks in premium. We don't see people downgrading even in a recessionary environment. So we've always sort of chatted around the fact that the high-end traveler may be a little bit recession-proof or recession-resistant, and that is clearly what the airlines are saying. So I think if I have to wrap this all up and read through for the US hotel industry, I would say front of the bus, luxury, premium, fine, was fine, will be fine. People are paying. Now, the question is, what will the American high-end leisure traveler do this summer? Because obviously it doesn't help the US hotel industry if everybody goes to Rio, right? In 23, everybody went to Venice. In 24, everybody went to Tokyo. And in 25, are people going to Latin America or back to Europe? That obviously doesn't help us in our industry. If the dollar is a little weaker, maybe people are staying at home. They're still flying, a premium cabin. So premium, I think we can sort of put a check mark next to it and say that's going to be okay. International outbound seems to be pretty healthy. International inbound, a little more choppy in the main cabin, but premium again is fine. And the Canadian piece is certainly something to watch. But then you have the main cabin, and there I think things are, I think choppy is the word that they're using, and that's going to be super interesting to watch what happens in Q2 and how that translates not into luxury and upper upscale demand, but into upscale and upper mid-scale demand. And that's something that Isaac and I we'll continue to watch. So I think it's sort of a little bit of a mixed scorecard for Q1, and the outlook is also probably a little bit mixed, but you can certainly find strong pockets of, these things are going really, really well.
Isaac, what's your take? Because you're vocal about the bifurcation in consumer confidence, really, in terms of spending habits. And where else do we see that but in airline?
Yeah, and I go back to what we've been talking about over the last year. I do not disagree that middle to lower income individuals continue to be very squeezed. I don't think that's changed because of changes in policy. It's just everything is so much more expensive. It is 26% more higher for anything today for CPI than it was in 2019. It's not surprising to me that we see the coach cabins a little less empty because again, it's just expensive and people are having to cut back. Again, forget any of the policy decisions that have been made over the last 3 months.
A little more empty, you mean?
Yeah, a little bit more empty, right? And it's funny because some of the airlines, so I, as you know, I fly back and forth a lot. I'm flying all the time. And I fly a premium airline and it tends to be full. But when I fly an economy airline, it tends to be empty. And you can really, and it's not, to me, it's not a sign of the economy overall. It's the individuals that they market to, that they're individuals, this lower priced airline, their travelers are just can't afford it. It has nothing to do with any changes. They just cannot afford it. So I think that's the difference. And I continue to look at that. I'm watching people all the time. I was in California last week. I was with Pyramid Global Hospitality talking to all their GMs. And no one seems really concerned at this point. Yes, they agree things are different, but you got to just stay the course and, and then be able to adjust if you have to, but not, they're not freaking out. I guess that's the first thing. In past times, people were really freaking out, going, we don't know what we're going to do. But what I realized is many in our community now, we went through the worst of times when there was zero revenue. So even if it gets choppy, it's not going to be zero revenue. It may not be growth, but we're not going to have zero revenue. And I think that's the difference this time around of why people aren't freaking out because yeah, it might get it may not be as good as it was last year or the year before, but it's still going to be revenues. We're still going to be able to meet payroll and all that. And so what I've been watching, I continue to watch, just to give you an idea, each week we have a meeting regarding the week's results. And we had yesterday's meeting, and so I've been looking every week how the industry's doing, and it literally goes back to what Jan says. It has been choppy. It's been like a roller coaster. 1 week it's up, 1 week it's down. 1 week it's up, and it's like up and down. And I think that's what we can expect. But when I look long term, when I'm really trying to understand is, what's changed? Everyone's talking about employment and layoffs and all that. Well, if you look at U.S. weekly unemployment claims, not gains, claims, and I did a 4-week moving average, what you see is the number of new claims is well below the long-term trend. And I went all the way back to 2001. Yes, it's literally kind of flat. I showed it to Dion earlier. We could put this out there for you to see, but it's flat. And then when I look at layoffs that the government puts out, now this is only through February, it is rising from where it was in 2022, but it's still also well below the long-term trends. And then if you look at just total employment for the US as of March, it's still up 1.2%. And we're still seeing gains in construction, utilities, even accommodations, financial. So even government, just federal government, was still 0.1% higher than it was a year ago. So again, I just caution everyone is don't get the recency bias just because what you read or see or heard and change your forecast. I think you have to have a strategy. You have to maintain what you're trying to do, but you just got to be careful and not overreact. And even inbound, I was looking at Canadian inbound. Yes, is it lower than it was in March of year to date 2024? Yes. But guess what? It's higher than what it was in March year to date 2023. And then same thing, if you look at all other inbound, it is still better than it was in 2023. So you got to just keep everything, just in check. Just look at the broader trends. Don't look at year over year only. Extend out a little bit. Where are we in, over the last 10 years, 15 years? And that's what I've been doing. And maybe that's why I remain cautiously optimistic. I hate that word or phrase, but I remain cautiously optimistic. It will be choppy, but we'll be okay, I think.
Yes, but if I am a middle of the plane traveler, is that going to make me feel? I feel like, ooh, maybe I will not be facing super high flight prices if I wanted to take a little vacation this summer. I think it's super interesting to look at the airline data, because that idea of, like, if you think, I mean, you guys perhaps travel White Lotus style, as we've talked before, and you say, I'm going to my luxury destination and my luxury resort, so of course I will fly first class. Me, if I were, I might say, oh, I've splurged on the hotel, but I'm flying economy. So when you see that like for like, obviously it's, there are more factors at play, but premium cabin still up, premium accommodation still up. That shows me there's still room for trade down, which hasn't happened. All right, reached the portion of our conversation today where we've talked about the numbers. We've introduced some potentially debatable topics. Jan threw out this airline information. Isaac got a little hot and bothered about it, wanting to fight. What's next? What should we be thinking about along the lines of this whole idea of the total travel landscape, where people are going, where they're pulling back, where they're still okay? Here's me trying to inject scary headlines, but what should we be going back and forth about? Dare I say, arguing about?
There is no doubt that Isaac is correct, and the backward-looking data is, of course, constructive, right? It's pretty good.
Isaac is stepping back, readers, from his microphone.
Can't argue that. Now, I could argue the fact that he continues to point at the hurricane markets lifting up the total U.S. industry results. And if we take out the hurricane results from Q1, I don't think it would be quite as strong. But I'm not going to do that. My argument is purely to say he's looking back, and that's fine. And a lot of us in the industry are looking forward. And the government data, the government layoffs haven't hit the data set yet. Washington, D.C. is decidedly very choppy from the outlook perspective. I was traveling, I guess this week, and talking to a management team, and they had some exposure in DC, and they're saying, wow, our group meetings, they're canceled and we're not getting them back. And we're trying to figure out if we have anything that we could, put a hat on in terms of force majeure. But it's that revenue is probably going to be lost and lost for a long, long, long time. The middle of the cabin commentary from the airlines I just mentioned about Q2 really made me take a step back and say, oh, that's not good. Now, is it possible that people just trade and do drive to demand? Sure. You can probably argue that. So I am not quite as sanguine or constructive as Isaac is on the industry. And the main chart, Isaac, 1 second, he's like ready to jump. My main chart that I look at is Adam Sachs from Tourism Economics puts out the consumer sentiment data, which isn't their data. He just picks it up from another third party, and that is very, very low. Consumers don't feel good today, and I think that can easily translate into them sitting on their hands and not booking as many trips or booking shorter trips or trading down. So that part makes me a little less constructive. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Freitag has entered the chat. I think I'm on your side, Jan, but Isaac is dying to fight.
Isaac, come on, bring it.
Okay, so you talked about the hurricane markets. Then this slowdown has nothing to do with policy, because the hurricane markets started in December and really pushed up the demand at that point, right? So that means that there's something underlying, which it goes back to that middle income and lower income individuals, and it's inflation driven. So this choppiness would have occurred regardless if we had a policy change or not. So that's my first point. And then the second point is what people say and do are two different things. I will tell you that I am the most depressed person I'll ever be. But then I'll go into a craft cocktail bar and my depression will go away. So again, I just think we take it all in stride. I don't disagree with you, actually, Jan. I know there's a lot of crazy things out there, and I know that we are seeing the choppiness. I see it in the weekly data, but I also don't want us to get in this trap where it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That it's the recency bias. We take the current, whatever is going, whatever the topic of the day is, and then we build a forecast around that. My biggest issue with all the forecasts coming right now is we really don't know what's going to stick. Every day, it's a tweet away where things can change. And I just don't believe that we should just take it, all these forecasts that have come out, and we are going to have a forecast out, but I promise you that we're going to really debate it and think it through and not just take, oh, this is going to happen. That's why we're lowering GDP. No, we have to wait and see. We just don't know. That's my key point. And then when I look at forward bookings through STR's forward booking tool, the summer looks good. I can't figure. So it's not, there's ups. It's not all negative. And I've seen periods where it's all negative, and this is not there yet. That's why I'm just being very cautious. And I know that, and I feel like I am, maybe I've dug in my heels by being so cautious and saying, just hold on, hold on, hold on. We don't know. And I'm going to say, we don't know. So just hold on.
Jan gets closing statement.
So I appreciate that you keep calling out the word, not the recession word, but the recency bias word. I think that is super important for our listeners. If there's any takeaway, take out a little sticky note and put on recency bias and put it on your laptop and put it on your screen, because we are absolutely, and I certainly fall prey to it. I see the most recent headlines and I'm like, oh, it's going to be like that for the foreseeable future. Isaac's cautioning us, well, let's look at the underlying data. Now, you made my point. You're saying, hey, without the hurricane impact, there would have already been a little bit softer Q1. So I'm like, is that a little bit softer Q1 into softer Q2? Okay, wait and see. We will get together at the NYU Hotel Investment Conference. Amanda Hyde from STR is going to be on stage showing her latest forecast. We're internally debating it a lot, by the way, dear listener.
Be a fly on that wall.
To what the forecast should be. And I'm pushing a little bit one way, but Isaac keeps us all grounded by saying recency bias, guys. Let's just wait for the data to come out. So I think that is certainly in this environment words to live by.
And unpack the data. Again, there are certain things. Again, you're right. There's no doubt the hurricane thing has lifted it up. It's starting to wane, of course, which we expected. But again, just watch the data, understand it, unpack it. Don't just take the top line data and say, oh my God, the world is ending. You got to really know like I said, the change in the school breaks or the spring break pattern is a real thing. And if you don't, we can show you those charts. It's real. So just, take it easy, breathe, have a great craft cocktail.
Wouldn't we hate to, let's just imagine for a second if Isaac and Jan were opposing lawyers in a courtroom. Oh boy, that's a legal drama that I would watch. All right, guys, we are ready to close up our episode for the month the same way we always close it. So I'm going to give you a chance to think of your metaphor for the month. What is the hotel industry like right now? And while you think about it, I am going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit and announce to our listening community that the Tell Me More Hospitality Data podcast recently won an award for a silver award, second place for best podcast from the American Society of Business Publication Editors.
Cool.
I think that's pretty good. Well done, guys. May it be the first of many.
Congratulations, Steph.
May it be the first of many. Yeah. No, well, I just turn up the volume so you both can talk. And speaking of which, let's hear what the industry feels like or sounds like to you. Jan?
All right. Well, it was Easter. And I know my boys who are 7 and 9 don't listen to this, so I can admit that I was the one hiding the Easter eggs. We did it the night before. And unfortunately, we did it in our yard outside. And some of them were wrapped, but I put like a bunch of M&Ms and a bunch of those plastic eggs. And when the boys found them the next morning, they were not just M&Ms in it, there were ants in them.
Oh.
So to me, the metaphor for the U.S. hotel industry for the next quarter is it's like an Easter egg, and maybe some of you have an ant in it.
You don't know.
Until you open it.
You don't know until you open it. Depends on what part of the yard you hit it in.
Exactly.
That is
great.
hilarious. All right. So for those of you that know me pretty well, especially I know Jan and Stephanie know me pretty well. Yes, I was at Coachella weekend one in 101-degree weather, and it was great. Do it every year. Love it. It's the most fun you can have. If you've never been to Coachella, I can be your guide. I can help you have a fabulous time at Coachella. Lady Gaga was over the top. But there was an artist who encapsulated what the industry and the travel environment will be for the rest of the year. And that song, we call it the artist is Lola Young out of England, and her hit song right now is Messy. And yes, the industry is going to be just messy. So is the political landscape. Everything right now is just going to be messy.
So are those Easter eggs filled with M&Ms and ants. Messy.
But again, messy is not necessarily doom and gloom. It's just messy. We'll get through it. It's just messy. It's okay. And so we'll be fine.
I like that. We will, of course, add it to our running Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast playlist on Spotify. I'll put the link in the story so those of you who are faithful listeners can listen to the music of the years as well. And with that, we will wrap up this episode. Thank you both for your insight, and thank you to our listeners. Find the latest global hotel industry news on hotelnewsnow.com. Find this podcast wherever you like to listen. So many more of you have been hitting that subscribe button, and we really appreciate it. We will see you in person, likely at the NYU Hotel Investment Conference in June in New York, if not before. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steph.
Hi, I'm Davon Reed.
I'm Omari Head.
And I'm Chris Henry.
We're the hosts of the Next Gen and Lodging podcast on the Hotel News Now podcast network. It's a monthly show in which we interview a new generation of hoteliers to get their insights into a variety of disciplines and topics, from finance to food and beverage and hotel operations. Listen to us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode of Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast, was recorded on April 24, 2025 by me, Stephanie Ricca. The episode was edited by Rachel Daub. Find all hotel industry news at hotelnewsnow.com. Subscribe to this and all Hotel News Now podcasts wherever you like to listen. Thank you.